Happy Sunday afternoon. It's Marie here from Messy M Creations. I hope you are all doing well this fine sunny day. If you are able to catch me live, then please do say hi. And if you're on catch up, as you might be, as it's a Sunday afternoon and it's Father's Day, then please do say hi, so that I know you have been able to watch. Let me just log in on my tablet and see if anybody joins us. So, as I say, if you join, then please do say hi. I am showing you today a technique called Joseph's coat. So, I will explain the reasons why these are cut out a little bit later, but essentially we are going to recreate cards. So I've got a few different ideas, so I'm hoping to get 3 in, but we'll see how we go. So personally, I found this technique easiest with the Stamparatus. It's how I remained cleanest, as it were. So the first one, I'm just going to pop that to one side for now. So I've got a piece of shimmery white card. So I cut an A4 sheet into 4 essentially to create my card bases. I have a colour challenge on this week. So I have chosen for this first card to interpret those colours as Stampin' Up's Pumpkin Pie, Pretty Peacock, Cinnamon Cider and Smoky Slate. There is also black on there, which will come into play in a while. All will become clear. So essentially with my colour challenge, I don't stipulate Stampin' Up colours because if people want to use different colours or have similar colours from different inks, you might not have Pumpkin Pie, but you might have the new Bumblebee, or you might have Crushed Curry or Melon Mambo. So I don't stipulate colours. So the first colour I'm going to add, and I'm going to show you a couple of different ways of adding the colour. So this is a piece of sponge, and essentially we are just going to put random bits of colour around on the card. Now the other way that you can use it is with these little kind of finger sponges. So if I take the Pretty Peacock, again, I'm just going to bob some bits of colour, and this will all become apparent as we work through. So whether you use a sponge or whether you use a finger dauber, entirely up to you. My sponge has several sides to it, so I'm just going to go in with a bit of Pumpkin Pie. And then I'll go in with the grey last. So I'm just randomly placing that around, but I was lucky enough to see my dad slightly earlier. I'm actually going to intensify that cinnamon cider, I think, as well. When the Pumpkin Pie went on, it looked too similar, and I do want a differentiation of the colour. So you can do the colour as dark or as light as you wish. So just intensified that a little bit. So again, this is another area that you can get a little bit inky if you aren't careful, so just watch those inky fingers. So I'm going to use a clean sponge for the Smoky Slate. I want quite an intense colour again, but I'm also going to run that across some of those areas. So I made a little bag for my dad's present as well. My mum was very impressed with my bag making skills. And the many things that we can do with Stampin' Up. It's something I haven't done many 3D projects on live, so that might be another little thing that joins us over the next few weeks. I have generally focused on cards, so I think so as I go through this technique, what I'm creating is going to become clear, and then when you recreate it, you will understand what you are creating. So at this point, I'm closing all my ink pads so that we don't get too inky. So thus far we are relatively safe. Oh, nearly messed up with that one. Put my thumb into my pretty peacock. So again, I am using the Stamparatus. This obviously would work with your stamps on blocks, but I have a Stamparatus and I'm going to use it. So with the face of, oh actually I'm going to put the flower on first, because I think I might try putting the flower there, then that coming from there. So these are from Positive Thoughts. Oh no, I might not use that one. So these other leaves are from Fern Dies. I'm not sure I do want the flower there. I think I might put it more centrally, and then potentially have different leaves coming out. Or I might forego. I'm actually, there you go. Nothing like changing your mind. But this is the great thing with the Stamparatus, is essentially what I can do. I'm going to have all these different types of leaves coming in from different angles with a view. So this is from Very Versailles, with a view to potentially my greeting is going to go across the middle there. So I don't necessarily want to have anything too far into that. Maybe that flower can sneak in there. Maybe we'll have it. No, we'll have it with the more solid ink. Again, that will be clearer once. So that is the pattern I'm going to have. So as I say, this is where the Stamparatus is absolutely brilliant. So having laid those out on the Stamparatus, I just pop the plastic plate across, and I can lift every single one of those up, and when I ink, that is going to come out exactly where I've placed it. So I am going to now ink that up with Versamark. So I'm inking up every single one of those stamps. I'm doing the whole thing. Anything that doesn't hit the card obviously will just be on my paper base, so that's fine, but we want to make sure we've got Versamark on every single bit of that. My card is in place, and I'm just going to take that across, press that down so the Versamark transfers onto my paper. Just pull that off carefully, put that to one side, and take that plate off and just excuse me, and using a clear embossing powder, I'm just going to cover that with embossing powder. So I've done this on a smaller sheet of paper, and then I'm going to tip it. I don't think I've demonstrated heat embossing either at any point. So let's get rid of the bulk of that powder so we can tip it back into the box. And then, so currently you can virtually not really see anything at all. Just really getting off any excess from the paper. So hopefully that's just stuck. It's virtually impossible at this point to see what is happening, but all will become clear in a moment. So then we need to take our heat embossing gun. So this is not going to look particularly impressive on a Facebook Live. So then with the heat gun, just ensuring that you've heat embossed every bit that's covered. Because we're doing it in clear, we obviously can't see it at all. So but what I can see that won't show up on the video is the reaction as it's actually heated the powder. So everything is now heat embossed. And I'm guessing you're not going to be able to see. No, I can't. Oh, you can. Can you just see in the light there? There's a. You can see where the embossing is. Just in that light. So all the inks will be dry. All that embossing is ready. Then the exciting bit is, and this is where we find out what I've managed to create. Oh, hi Linda. Sorry, I didn't see you joined there. So then we take our Memento black ink, and with any luck, what we get, and I think it's working, is where that, so what I would say is I needed to use an embossing buddy, and I didn't. I forgot my embossing buddy bit. So I haven't quite got a clear image there. So we'll just let that dry off a little bit, and generally just take a tissue. So thus far I've managed to remain pretty uninky, so I'm quite impressed with myself. So then just where the clear embossing is, if you just rub over it, it kind of just comes alive. See, I think I didn't quite heat emboss. So important to make sure your heat embossing's correct. I've just put my fingers in everything, haven't I? But a greeting can cover that piece. I obviously used a bigger piece than the card, so I can cut that down, cut any areas that I'm not entirely happy with. I'm going to get my embossing buddy out as well for the next one. That layer of chalk just does help. So you can see how those colours that I'd put all over the sheet have then revealed themselves through that clear embossing. So I missed some of the embossing there, but that is perfect in the centre there to have the greeting added. So what I tried to do yesterday subsequently, and why I ended up cutting these bits out, I thought I'd add a bit of shimmery paint, but it doesn't work because it reacts differently to the black ink. So whilst I thought it might add more shimmer to my paper, it didn't work, so I ended up with a funny old mess. But if you're not happy with the overall card, you've got some beautiful pieces that if you've got die cut, or if you want to fussy cut, you can cut those pieces out and you could make another beautiful card. So don't ever write off any part of it, because I have to say I think I missed with the embossing heat embosser around there, so I think that's what's caused that issue. So that is one base, but what I thought, and I'm definitely going to get rid of that, I'll just turn that over. What I also thought might work well, so this is a complete experiment, so live in your front room we have an experiment, because I had the thought that a background stamp might look rather nice. So I have taken the stacked stone, and again you do need a stamparatus because that is a large stamp. So that's the stamp that I am going to Versamark and heat. So I'm going to use slightly different colours this time. Going to go Magenta Madness, Gorgeous Grape, Purple Posy and Petal Pink. Got a feeling that is clean, even though it's got a big... I might try a slightly more dabby sponge to get a more all over effect. So basically it's one of those techniques that we can just play with and have fun. So I'm just position that incorrectly. So I'm going to use the other side of that sponge, but I am hoping that I'm going to remember that I've got Magenta Madness there and not stick my fingers in it. So again, literally I'm just going to stamp, sponge, even. So I get a much more kind of random effect. So it's one of those things you could be quite tailored in stripes or specific circles, or just to your heart's content. So let's add a bit of Purple Posy, will be a lighter. So what I'm thinking is where the colour is kind of potentially lighter, it'll give that little bit of iridescence, for the want of a better word. I keep sticking my thumb knuckle into my ink pads for some reason, best known to somebody else. So again, the colour choices can entirely be yours. As I say, I think you could do it with all your stamps on blocks and do them individually, but I think for me personally, knowing the mess that I sometimes get in, I'm just going to put some of that. So it's one of those that you've really got to play around with and see what you think. So that's a completely different pattern to the one that I did earlier on. And I'm just going to see, so I think it will just be quite interesting. So what I am going to do, just to get rid of any static, because that's sometimes what happens, is I'm just going to run the embossing buddy over the top of that, which is essentially just a chalk bag. Someone will probably tell me it's got a lot more than chalk in, but... So again, inks to one side. These background stamps really do need the stamparatus, so that's definitely the best way here. So I'm thinking 2 squares from the top, 2 squares from the side. Perfect. You can't use your magnets in this instance. So again, I am Versamarking over the whole thing. I mean, again, I think with these background stamps, potentially you are creating a background, or you could, as I did with that one where I wasn't happy with the finish that I'd achieved to use it as a background card, cutting those individual bits out and creating a card. So Versamark all over. Popping that down. Now that will have stuck to the card, so that's fine. We just need to take it straight off. We can't see the Versamark in the light, but it is there. Oh, I forgot to... Oh, actually, I'll use the... So the important thing at the moment is not to be touching that surface now. So clear embossing powder. So I put loads on, but essentially it's all going to come off and go back in. So although your embossing powder does last for a long time, it does deteriorate over time. So if you're not getting a good emboss with your embossing powder, it could be that they have deteriorated. So because it is a powder, as I say, it does really go on for a long time. So this is definitely a technique that relies on your ink being dry before you're embossing. And then we just have to hope now when we put the embossing on, the heat embosser on that's going to work out. So as it heats, it kind of melts, so you on the camera it won't pick up the difference, but I'm hoping that you'll be able to see. Sorry, not the most exciting thing for you to watch. Or listen to, I would imagine. I don't have a way of cutting out the sound, and hopefully you can hear me over it. I won't know until... Oops, hot. Mind your fingers, obviously. But we really want to make sure that that is all heated and embossed. Otherwise it'll mess it right up. As I say, this is an entire... Oh, do you know what's happened is my Versamark hasn't been picked up in... Right, perfect place for a greeting. So again, Memento ink pad. Because of the style of these pads, you can do it straight from the pad. If you preferred, you could use a brayer or something similar. Yeah, so essentially, for some reason, my Versamark didn't pick up a whole area there. But, as I say, that makes it perfect for a greeting. And that's the joy of live crafting, is we don't get it perfect every single time. We are all fallible. Then just going over yeah, so that's something just to be aware of, because essentially the Versamark didn't take to that part of my stamp at all. but I see that as a perfect area for a greeting. You can see there then, see that's quite an interesting effect for a background. It's not perfect, but you imagine some of the shapes that we've got. If you've got a punch or something. So what I'll do is I'll make some cards and show the cards later to show what I did manage to create. As I say, that is literally because the Versamark didn't take. But you can see the effect that you get through that brickwork, that all the different colours are coming through in different areas. So that's not perfect, but I'm still rather pleased with that. And then the last one, I think we get rid of our base. So yeah, if you used a braille with the black ink, potentially you would I don't know whether it would be cleaner, because I think with these memento pads it's quite easy to hold it. But the other thought I then did have, and this is why I have lots of extra plates, because obviously that needs a good clean and I need to work out what didn't go so well there. We'll put one of those back in. I thought as well for a little note card, I'm going to see how it looks with the poppies. So I set it up earlier with a set of poppies and a happy birthday. So that's going to be much more in the middle. So essentially the whole of that outside will be black. So I would need to concentrate the colours that I'm using more in the centre of this card. And I might go back to my pumpkin pie pretty peacock cinnamon cider. As I say, this is my interpretation of the colours from this week's colour challenge. So the colour challenge is available until Wednesday at 8 is when it gets drawn, for want of a better word. The wheel of names selects the name of the winner. So I'm going to go with the more technique of splodging. Rather than doing circles. So a bit of cinnamon cider. Just double check that's all, yeah, that's all cinnamon cider. So say on this one I know I'm just going to pick up the colour in the centre. So that's really where I'm focusing the colour. Play around and see what you create actually with the, oh, let's use this little finger sponge and just put some more concentrated areas of the, if you think about where your stamps are going to go, that's really your consideration for where your colour is going to go on your card. I've got black inky fingers that are going all over the place. So before we go any further, let us just get rid of the ink pad. So that's got a bit of Pretty Peacock, pumpkin pie and cinnamon cider. I'm just getting the black off my fingers. Doesn't matter much there because we're going to get, that's going to go completely black. All these sponges need to go to one side as well. I'm just going to use the embossing buddy again. Oh, I want to make sure those inks, actually, do you know what I might do? I might just make sure those inks are really dry before. And then where those are going to go, I'm just going to pop that. So again, my stamps are in my Stamparatus positioned, and I've positioned them based on the card being up in that corner. Just make sure I've got all the colour in the right place. I think I might just... So if you want to realign it, so what... Move the card slightly, place your... I've gone slightly, just place your stamps on the card where you want them to be, and then you can just quickly pick those up. So I just need that to remain straight and in that position. Then we Versamark. Making sure you've got a good covering. And Versamark is kind of just this strange sticky substance. Okay, oh, move that back again. I don't know actually what it says. Yeah, so it's a, you can use it to watermark on colours, so it would be a self colour, but it also works. I'm really just making sure that I've got all that Versamark onto that card, which is virtually impossible to see because it is clear, but where's my little bit of paper? Pop the clear powder over and just tip that off, and then you kind of, you get, can you see that slight white where the imagery is? So I can see that's come out pretty well this time, so that's good. Get the powder out of the way. As I say, the powders go on forever, but they do deteriorate over time, so don't necessarily keep them for the next 10 years, because the chances are they won't work so well. So then when we add heat, essentially it's melting the powder. This is a lot smaller, so you don't have to listen to that noise for so long. But I'm hoping what's going to happen, so then can you see that kind of gloss? So that's using a heat embosser. Again, just making sure that everything is, all the powder has caught and has gone clear. Then I'm going to fold the card in half, because the one thing I don't want is I don't want black on the back of this card. So this is just using one of the little note cards, but I thought it might make quite a sweet little card. So again, Memento ink pad. So you're going to have a lovely black background. And this is where it does get a little bit inky, because you've got to get right to those edges. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to read my happy birthday. Again, that was an experiment. Haven't tried it with using words before. So we will find out together whether it has worked. So there we go, good coating of black all over. Then taking a dry soft cloth, when we rub over the words, just gets rid of any excess black ink. Oh, and I do believe that may have worked. So it's got 1,000,001 uses. Obviously you are at high risk of getting black absolutely everywhere. And I have only seen it done with black ink, and I'm not sure whether it would work with other colours of ink. Maybe that's my next experiment. But you can see where I've Just had my fingers on there. So I think then that kind of shouts, oh, I need some embellishments to lift up. But you can see how the different colours have come through on that happy birthday. So it's making sure you get a really good clean emboss. And probably stronger colours coming through, and the paler ones just look like a slightly lifted area. So that's on a little note card. And then that was the brick background, as I say. Error there because the Versamark didn't get picked up on the paper. So it's really just the technique of using the Versamark. But for me, that actually is like a little bit grungy, and he's just shouting for a greeting to go across there. Actually, that's quite good. Oh, I've got someone in mind now that can have a kind of grungy type card. And then this is using the leaf patterns. And again, it was cinnamon cider, pretty peacock, pumpkin pie, and a little bit of the grey. And then, yeah, yesterday where I made the error. So if you aren't happy with the finished card, just, if you've got die cuts, die cut them out. Fussy cut them. But you can create some beautiful finishes. So this one, as I said earlier, for those that missed, I thought I'd be able to add some shimmer using a shimmer paint. Only it didn't work because it was in some areas and not others, and it made a difference to the way the black ink was accepted on the paper. So yeah, all I did was just cut out the bits. So if you aren't entirely happy with what you do create, just cut out the bits because they're going to be great on another card. So hopefully that's shown you that things don't always go perfectly. We are human, but that's good. But it's given you an idea of that technique and how to do that Joseph's coat technique. And I'm going to make some cards out of these and I will pop them on my page later. So thank you for joining me and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Take care. Bye.